Hey, what's up, guys? Give me a second. Oh, guys, um, I gotta say something, cause honestly, I need to. I'm gonna just set everything straight here and be completely honest. I approve of everything I said. But I'm gonna say my stuff. So this all that I'm talking about happened on Tuesday. Okay, this is or Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. All that would happen, all that I said, and everything happened on Thursday. You want me to? You want the truth from me? I'll give you the truth. Okay, I'll give you the truth. On Thursday. Thursday. Okay. Okay. This is before I start saying nothing. I'm here to clear up everything. Everything. Because Taylor wants to go out there and tell people about what I said to her. Fine. I'll say it right now. I'll say literally all of our conversation since Thursday. I mean, on Tuesday, she replied to my story that I made, and she said that I can talk to her or something, and I said I can't trust anyone at this point. She said not even me, and I said even like that, and she said okay, Marcos, I'm trying to help, and I said I know. That's what happened on Tuesday. On Thursday, she sent me a message at 6. Or well, I guess I don't. It doesn't really matter when, because for her it was probably 9. But anyways, she's like, I don't know if I can live anymore. And I said, what? Talk to me. What's going on? And she said, everyone. And I was like, what about everyone? What's making you feel like you can't live anymore? Listen, I've been there before, thinking life isn't worth it, and that people won't care if I leave this world. But listen to me. If no one told you this, I will. You are worth so much. You're so amazing and capable of amazing things, even if it's tough and it's hard. You got this. I promise. I care about you. She said, and I said, even if everyone says then back on you, I won't. Your presence makes me feel like I want to push forward. You're a capable human being, even if we feel otherwise. She said, yeah, I guess. So, but I was just helping her out. But when it really started, she said, you okay? And I said, are you okay? That's really important, because, you know what I'm saying. And then she sent me a reel of a sunset, and then she sent me another one saying, low-key would cry if someone could give me 10, could write me 10 reasons why they love me. And I said, I feel that if someone could give me 10 reasons, but no one can. Mind you, this was Thursday, so Thursday was my roughest. Actually, Friday was my roughest day, but Thursday was my second roughest day. Okay, I had a really rough night, and I'm gonna just say it. I said some things I shouldn't have. I will be the bigger person and say that. Okay, but I said, I said no, Kim. She said BRB, and I said okay, and then she said one. She said not one. She said, if you're alone, I'll be your shadow. If you want to cry, I'll be your shoulder. If you want a hug, I'll be your pillow. If you need to be happy, I'll be your smile. But anytime you need a friend, I'll just be me. And that's the same here. And she's like, gosh, I wish I didn't have feelings. I said, same here. And she said, I wish I didn't have feelings when you have a girlfriend. I said, wait, you have feelings for me? And she said, yeah. And I said, what about Nate? And she said, he don't like me. He unsubscribed to me. And I said, oh, well, don't worry. Just stay between the promise. But she wants to go put it out there, so I'm gonna put it out there now. I was gonna keep it between us, but now she wants to put it out there, so yeah. And then she okay, and I'm like, dang, today just gets crazier by the second. She's like, why? And I said, since we're being honest, I have to be honest. So basically, me and my girlfriend got in an argument yesterday because we did. Yesterday, on Wednesday, we got into an argument. And I said, eventually, we made up and everything, but she's being distant, which we talked about that on Friday or Thursday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. We talked about it and we discussed it. Okay, so these are some things I was feeling, but then we talked about it and that was it. And so then she says she even asked Nate if she could talk to him, like not me, which again, we talked about on Friday. We talked about this. This was a problem. So it's like this happened on Thursday. So yes, I know the problem has been resolved, but yeah. And then I said that hurt me a lot. Like she'd rather talk to me. Again, we talked about this on Friday. And then she said, "Oh," she said, "True, I would talk to you all day." And I said, "Oh." And I said, "When should what?" And then I was like, "Nothing." Bro, I'm not okay. I'm not okay, bro. I'm literally gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my mind, bro. I'm gonna lose my mind. But anyway. But anyways. The real talk, the real part is stuff that she wanted to say that I said. Bro, I'm not back on good terms. I'm not back on good terms. I'm back on horrible terms. I'm literally so freaking done, bro. I'm done, bro. You know what? Screw it. Screw it, bro. Screw it. I'm not gonna have a girlfriend by tomorrow, y'all. I don't know. I can't do nothing about it. You wanna know why? Because I just won't. I literally just won't. Because I said some things because I was upset, but then we talked about it yesterday. And after yesterday, I then decided that I was like gonna trust her. And I told her, yes, I did some messed up things, I said some messed up things and all that stuff, but I didn't like. And this person now wants to come and post the screenshots of what I said to her. But again, this was on Thursday and maybe Friday before we had a conversation about it. Okay? Before all that happened, before all of that happened, okay? And I know, I said some messed up things. I know, I did it. I shouldn't have said that, okay? But I said that before we had, like, because we had a conversation, bro. No, bro. It's not that. It's not. No, bro. Okay, bro. It doesn't even matter, bro, because, I mean, it does matter. But at this point, there's nothing I can do about it, so. I'm gonna just let life happen the way it happens. Because, honestly, if that's how it has to be, I'm more than okay with that. If my girlfriend leaves me, I'm not gonna stop her. Just forget it, bro. Forget it, bro. I'm gonna be single by tomorrow. It's fine. It's fine. Honestly, I knew this was gonna happen because I never even. Every single time I get into a freaking relationship, it never lasts. So I knew this was gonna happen. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose everything, man. I told y'all I was not gonna take this lightly if something like this happened, and of course it did. And it's my fault too, because I overthink, and every time I overthink, I say some stuff. And yesterday, when me and her talked, which we did, I was like, I told her I was gonna stop doing that, and I did. Today, I did. I didn't say nothing stupid about her. I didn't like. I'm so dead serious. Like, and here's the crazy part. If you want to know the crazy part is that the screenshot that she sent on her YouTube channel doesn't explain anything. Okay, because I said that stuff, yes, but then I was like, you know what? I'm overthinking it. She loves me. Like, there's no way, but I still feel that way. And I'm not gonna lie, Thursday was a hard day for me. And I just really just said how I felt at that moment, but it's not like I meant what I said. I didn't. But I can't do nothing about this anymore. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, I can't do anything about it anymore, and I can't prevent what's gonna happen. So you know what? Whatever happens, happens. If I wake up tomorrow and she freaking has a whole breakup thing, then it is what it is. Because at this point, I mean, I can't do nothing about it, and there's nothing I can say because she has every right to do what she does. She has every right. Every right to be upset with me. She has every right. You know, in fact, I'm not even gonna justify my own self because I have. It's fine. But you know what? We're still keeping the lives up. We're still going live every day. If we break up, I'm still going live every day. Twice at least, if not 3 times. We're still going live every single day. Every single day. I'm not gonna let this stop me. This isn't gonna stop me. I'm gonna do that. Well, tell her you want a reset. Sometimes okay. You know what, bro? I'm gonna just be straight up honest with you, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna just be straight up honest. I'm gonna be dead serious because I have like all these screenshots, but I'm gonna be dead serious honest with you, bro. If you because I need to be honest with you because I think I don't even blame her if she freaking leaves me because of what I said. Because I said this on Thursday, but on Friday we talked about it and I did apologize for anything that I did say. But look, listen. On Thursday. I said, okay, well, it kind of started with her sending me, okay, listen, bro. It started with her sending me a reel saying Loki would cry if someone could give me or could write me 10 reasons why they love me. And I said that I think I got out of our conversation. So I want to tell you exactly what I said, okay? And then I said, I said, I feel that if someone could write me 10 reasons, but no one can. And again, at this time, I was just really emotional, and me and my girlfriend have been having problems for a few days, so. And then she said BRB, and then I said okay. And then she wrote me like, if you're alone, I'll be your shadow. If you want to cry, I'll be your shoulder. If you want to hug, I'll be your pillow. If you need to be happy, I'll be your smile. But anytime you need a friend, I'll just be me. And I said same here. And then she said, gosh, I wish I didn't have feelings. And then I said same here. And then she said, I wish I didn't have feelings when you had a girlfriend. And I said, wait, you have feelings for me? And she said, yeah. And then I said, what about this? Like, cause there's another guy that she liked. And then apparently, and then she's like, "Oh, he didn't like, he don't like me. He unsubscribed to me." And I said, "Oh, well, don't worry." And then I was gonna keep it between us, but then she started posting some of the stuff that I said online, so I was like, "Okay, bet." And then I said, "Dang, today is getting crazier by the second." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Since we're being honest, I have to be honest too." So basically, me and my girlfriend had an argument yesterday, which we did. On Wednesday, we had an argument, and eventually we made up and everything. But she's being distant, which she was, in my opinion. I feel like she was being distant. And then she even asked like someone else on the live if they could talk. Which again, we talked about it on Friday, and she said that she was just really emotional and she just needed someone, and we were having like back and forth, and so we talked about that part. And I said that hurt me a lot, that she'd rather talk to me, and this is true. And then she said, I would talk to you all day, and I said, oh. And she said, what? And I said nothing. I don't know if I'm overthinking it or she really doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And then I said to keep it between us because I don't want people getting the wrong idea. And I said I love my girlfriend. I did say I love my girlfriend, okay? And she said I won't. And I said, but like, and she said, don't worry. And I said, but like she's kind of making me feel like she doesn't love me. She's being distant. At least I feel like she is. I mean, her messages don't even feel right anymore. Which at the time they didn't. But again, after we talked yesterday, these feelings really went away. And then she said true, and I said like, and then I responded with like, if I messaged her now, she probably wouldn't get much of a response, and it hurts. And then she said, I don't know if I could give you mine. I was like, what do you mean? You can tell me anything. She said, I mean my number. And I said, well, Instagram is great, because I wasn't about to take her number. And she's like, true, except I have a time limit. I said, I mean, yeah, but we barely talk anyways. And she said, I'm struggling. And whenever someone says they're struggling, I always jump into care. So I was like, talk to me, what's going on? She said, I keep losing friends. And I said, well, I'm your friend. She said, true. And I said, and I'll always be. She said, yeah. And I said, I'm sorry you keep losing friends. She said, it's fine. And I said, it's not fine when you're struggling because of it. And then she sent me a reel, which was like, I don't care who I lose, just please not you. I said, I'm always here for you. She said, thanks. And then she sent me, and then I said, of course, she sent me another reel that was like, everyone's losing me and they don't even know it. And I said, yeah, well, I feel that my friend keep leaving me, which is like, I have a friend that actually keeps doing that. Like, he keeps like leaving me and then coming back and like, whatever, it's complicated. And I said, I feel so alone. Which again, this was before we had the conversation, before all it is, before yesterday's call happened. And I said, I'm here. And she said, I'm here. And I said, I know. I just wish my girlfriend was. And then she's put a question mark. And I said, nothing. I'm just overthinking again. So I said I was overthinking. Okay? I said I was overthinking. So the stuff that I said I was overthinking. Okay? It was just like me saying it because I thought she was someone I could trust. But, and she said, it's okay. And I said, but it's not. I shouldn't be thinking like this. Like she's so perfect and yet I'm here doing this. That is the major part. I said, but it's not. I shouldn't be thinking like this. Like she's so perfect, and yet I'm here doing this. So I immediately said I shouldn't have said what I said because she's so perfect, and I'm here doing that. And then she said, talk to her about it, and she said, you can call this weekend. And yeah, she again. She said the whole thing about her talking to the other guy was only because she needed someone, and we were having an argument, and it is nothing like. We resolved that yesterday, so this is before yesterday. And I said the only thing that's making me really upset, the fact that she feels uncomfortable talking to me, and then she sent a screenshot, and then I said I saw that, I also heard, yeah, and then she said, it's like she's losing feelings, and if I lose her, I'll lose myself too, because she's the only one I got left. And then she's like, true, and I was like, I'm not gonna reach out. And then she's like, yeah, and I was like, and then she was like, you and Nate are the only one I've left. And I was like, I thought Nathan liked you. And then she's like, well, only you. And I said, okay, I'm always here. She said, thanks, of course. And then she sent me another freaking reel. And I responded to that. Then she sent me 2 more reels. And I responded to all those reels. And then she sent me 2 more. And I responded to them. She just one. And I responded to them. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, I feel like I can't do this to myself anymore because I was to the real. And then she showed me some things. And then she said, showed me some photos of, like, I don't know, her being sad or something. She me all night. And I said, okay. Yeah. And I said, yep. And then she said, now I have a headache, but how are you? And I said, sorry to hear that we're having a headache. And then I said, not good. My girlfriend says she needs time to think, and we might break up, but I don't know. I also don't know if I should send her a good morning message or if I should just let her be. Okay, because that was because I didn't know if I wanted to, like, bother her because, again, we were having an argument. So yeah, and then she said, "Oh, sorry, just wait a little or text her." And I said, "But that's the thing, I don't know if I should text her." And she said, "Try me here." And I said, "Okay, I'll message her." So I did. And she said, "Did she answer?" And she didn't yet. And so I was like, "Whatever." And then she sent me some reels, and I responded to it. And then, she sent me this thing. 1, he makes you smile when you're having a bad day. 2, he listens and actually cares about you. Say 3, he supports you, encourages you to be your best self. 4, he's trustworthy and someone you can rely on. 5, he makes you feel safe, both emotionally and physically. 6, he's funny and knows how to make you laugh. 7, he accepts you for all you are, flaws and all. 8, he's thoughtful, remembers the little things that matter to you. 9, he inspires you to grow into his dreams. 10, he's the best friend you can ever have. Best friend? What the frick does that? He has really value. He said, 10 reasons I love you. And then I was like, okay, stop. And then I was like, this is getting out of hand. Saying you love me is weird. Just relax, because she was like, she kept saying that. And she said, I literally told you yesterday, and then she sent me the reel again. I was like, okay, but like, we're just friends, and I don't love you, so I love you. We're just friends. And if you love me, then give details. I'm saying you love me because I have a girlfriend. I'm loyal to her. She has my heart. No one else does. So stop saying you love me. And she said, whatever. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. I can't be your friend. And if you're saying you love me because I have a girlfriend and an amazing girlfriend who I love. And she's like, okay. And I said, you seem upset that Disney. And she said, I don't know, did you after everything I told you? And I was like, I don't know, did I? Did you tell me? Did I? Have no clue. And then I responded, or she responded with, I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe I won't talk to you. And I said, why? Maybe you want to be friends. So I said, I don't. If you keep saying that you love me, not that I don't want to. And he said, whatever now. And I said, that's what I said. So why are you getting so pressed about it? She said, I'm not pressed. And I said, it seems like you are upset. She said, I'm not okay. I'm perfectly fine. And then I said, okay, did I do something wrong? I just feel uncomfortable with you saying that you love me when I have a girlfriend. It's not like I hate you or anything. I just can't do that because it's a girlfriend. Also, it seems like you clearly have a problem with me not wanting to say to you that you love me. I just don't get it. He's like, fine, dude. Okay, it's fine. And I said, okay, well, if you want to talk to me, if not, then don't. And she's doing okay. And I said, yep. And then she's like, I don't know. I don't feel myself. And I said, I'm sorry. It's fine. And she said, it's not though. And then she's like, why? And then she's like, because, or I was like, because you're not fine if you're not feeling yourself. And then she said, I'll be okay. And then freaking at 3:06 on Friday, she said, her apparently, I don't know who did, but someone said Tay's in the hospital, keep you in prayers. And I said, okay, I definitely will. And he said, you can post it on YouTube. And so I said, okay, I'll keep you in prayer, okay. And then it's letting you let me know when you're going to do it. And then I said I was going to post on it, which I did yesterday. And she's, yeah. And then she said, poor girl was trying to fight and lost her best friend, her. And I was like, oh, that must have been a really bad fight if it sent her to the hospital. And then she said, yes, she's awake. And then I said, that's good. At least she woke up. And then she's like, do you want to talk to her? And I said, it's up to her. If she's up for it, I wouldn't mind. And then me and her talked. She's like, hey, and I said, hey, and then she's like, did Allison text you? And I said, yes, she did, but it's so important and not important to you. And she's like, okay. And then I said, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. What did she say? And I said, and to respond to her, yeah. And I said, that's good. I got quite just scared, to be honest. And then she said, and then I told her that she said basically that she's the last time she'll forgive me, and if I do anything, that we're gonna break up. And then she said, oh, okay, but they came in BRB, and I said, okay. And then she said, she came back, and I said, okay, welcome back. And she said, I'm going to go eat. And I said, okay, enjoy your meal. And then she's like, I will. And I said, that's good. And then she responded, like, I don't know how much later, but she said, like 30 minutes later, she's like, sorry, I ate a lot. And I said, don't apologize, it's all good. You should be eating, so don't worry. And then she said, you can make an update if you want. And I said, no, I did. And then she says, yeah, I'm home. And I said, that's good to hear. And then at 5:57, she said, I just talked to Jamie on the phone, which if you know who Jamie is, I pray you don't. And then she's like, how was it? And she said, good. She told me about something that you did to break us up. And I said, what I do? I did nothing. And she said, no. Like, why did I break us up? We went up on that. And then I said, why do you pretend to be happy when you start going so much? And she said, because I don't want to see how week am. And I said, 1 week too. I care about you, and you don't have to have your fans ever. And I said, thanks. And I said, of course. And I said, please don't go, because it was not real. And then yesterday at 11:21 a.m., she said, Taylor's back in the And or today, or I say yesterday, but like y'all know that I'm talking about Saturday. So then she said at 11:20, she's like, Taylor's back in the hospital. And I said again, what now? What for now? And she said sick. And I said I will pray for her. And then you can make another update, which I didn't because I didn't feel like it. Because I was busy today. I was really busy today, so I didn't have time. And then at 6, she was like, Taylor's feeling better. And I said, that's good. And then she said all the pain she was in. I said, yeah. She doesn't want Nate to know she OD, which y'all know what it is. And then she said, you can say if you want. She wants you to know. So then she ended up telling him. And then all this stuff. So yes, I did mess up. But you have to also mention that that was Thursday, okay? That was Thursday. Before we had the conversation. And Friday, I think, a little bit too. Before we talked, okay? So it wasn't even like that. So if she wants to break up with me, I ain't gonna blame her. But also at the same time, know where I'm coming from. Bruh. We ain't gonna even question. Can't guarantee I'll answer it, but go ahead and ask it. Go ahead and ask it. How are things going with your girlfriend? We might break up. We might break up. I can't even remember. We actually might break up. I'm giving her the space that she needs at the moment. I'm actually about to head to bed because I'm getting up quite early tomorrow. Well, I mean, I know I'm getting up quite early tomorrow because my body just does that. So I'm actually gonna head off here in like 7 minutes. See, bro, you don't understand what's going on, and I need you to get out of my chat because you don't understand. What is better? Fine. Nuggets. Okay, bro. It ain't the time for that, bro. It ain't the time for that. Right now, it ain't the time for that. It ain't the time for that. It ain't the time for that. Autocorrect sucks. Anyways, I'm gonna head out actually right now. Well, anyways, I'm gonna head out now because I'm kind of sad and I don't want to be live. So, I'm gonna actually be live tomorrow. Peace out, green apples.